You found yourself on another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United, and on today's episode, the Cleveland Cavaliers completely dominate the Giannis Antetokounmpo-less Milwaukee Bucks, and George Niang had a career night. We have a big victory to talk about, and the most complete game for Cleveland all year, right here on Let 'Em Know Kings United. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for the post-game reaction podcast of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and the Chicago Bulls. This is Let 'Em Know Kings United. Let 'em know, Nation, you already know what time it is. Welcome to another edition of Let 'em Know Kings United, your Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and Chicago Bulls post-game reaction podcast. And I am your host, Skylar Weisberg. Thank you so much for tuning into today's program. And you can find Let 'em Know Kings United, which is 100% completely free and available on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Radio Public, Pandora, or wherever else you want to listen to this show. Give the show a follow on those platforms if you can. Please turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give Let 'Em Know Kings United a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify or wherever podcast platform you want to listen to this on. It is a great way to support the podcast, and I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. Well, that was fun. I gotta start this show positive, right? After what the Cleveland Cavaliers just did. A 135-95 total annihilation out of the Milwaukee Bucks. In my opinion, that was the most dominant performance I've ever seen from the Cleveland Cavaliers, not only this season, but from the last 2 years of me watching the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's gotta be the best win of the season. That's gotta be the most clean, efficient, clear, perfect game that the Cleveland Cavaliers have played all year. And they set their tone on the defensive end. Jared Allen said, our defense, that's where it started. We really set the tone, and I think we did an amazing job on two things. Number one, obviously the defense. You already know that the Cleveland Cavaliers are one of the top teams in the NBA in defensive rating under J.B. Bickerstaff, which, by the way, again, I think it's time to put J.B. Bickerstaff in the Coach of the Year conversation. I am just saying. He's got the Cleveland Cavaliers a little better. He's got the Cleveland Cavaliers better despite missing 2 All-Stars, Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. I am absolutely surprised of how J.B. Bickerstaff was able to keep this Cavalier team together and keep this Cavalier team rolling. But they rolling all right. They rolling to their season best 6-game winning streak by pounding the Milwaukee Bucks 135-95 in a game where, honestly, it was over from the jump. And the Bucks were without the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo. He bruised his right shoulder, an injury that kept him out of the starting lineup for the first time in nearly 30 games, the second longest streak of his career. The 2-time MVP is not expected to be out for an extended period, but for the Milwaukee Bucks' sake, they certainly hope they better not have Giannis Antetokounmpo out for a very long time, because for the Milwaukee Bucks, that was embarrassing. That was really, really, truly embarrassing if you are a Milwaukee Bucks fan and you watch this game or you're listening to this podcast. The way that the Milwaukee Bucks lost this game is they got dominated in fast break points, and the transition game of the Cleveland Cavaliers just simply dominated them. And oh, by the way, they were smoking hot from three-point range. Donovan Mitchell was doing Donovan Mitchell things. He was dropping 31 points on the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. Jared Allen, another double-double. What else is freaking new? But George Niang, this dude had a career high 33 points, 20 of them in the first half. He made 13 of 14 from the field, and he couldn't miss from three. I already know what my man Keith Cavalier from TikTok is going to say. Fake stats for George Niang, and I got to be completely honest with you. I got to keep it real, George Niang. This is absolutely fake stats. I already know damn well you are not a 30-point scorer. Yes, you had a really great night. You had a really great night tonight. Quite possibly the best game that you ever had in a Cleveland Cavalier uniform. But come on now. Come on now, bro. I know you damn well. I know that you are not that type of efficient scorer. Like, come on now. Come on now, George Niang. I gotta keep it real with you. We won. We dominated. I'm just having fun with you, but come on, man. You're not an efficient scorer all the time. That is absolute fake stats. The Cleveland Cavaliers, though, this is not fake stats. They made a surprising push despite without two starters. They held Milwaukee to a season low 2 points in the first 6 minutes of this game. The first 6 minutes... At one point, it was like 20-2, 25-2, 28-2, something like that. I was like, oh my goodness, what did the Cleveland Cavaliers have during their pregame meal? Because let me tell you something, these Cleveland Cavaliers were hooping tonight. And by the way, they're 11-3 without Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, which, by the way, speaking of DG, could potentially return before the All-Star break. So that is going to be really, really big news for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Great news at that. But Jared Allen, this man needs to be an All-Star. This man has to be on the All-Star roster, and he needs to be in the All-Star roster right freaking now. He added 21 points and 13 rebounds. His 10th straight double-double for Cleveland, which opened a 22-point lead and honestly never looked back. And on a night when the Bucks were missing the Greek Freak's presence along with his 31 points and needed someone to step up, and nobody did. Giannis was ruled out of this game, and Milwaukee was like, let's just take this out and move on. Let me be honest with you. The Milwaukee Bucks did not make it out of the bus. They were probably stranded outside on the cold, frigid night in Cleveland, Ohio. That's what Milwaukee played like. While the Cleveland Cavaliers were just getting whatever they want all night long. Their offense was absolutely efficient. They were making threes at a very high rate. Their defense set the tone the whole game. They probably out-rebounded the Cleveland Cavaliers. They got whatever they want in transition and fast break points. That is a big stat for this game because the Cleveland Cavaliers had a season high of fast break points tonight. That is outstanding considering the fact that there was little to no transition defense from the Milwaukee Bucks. The Cleveland Cavaliers came in here and did what they're supposed to do. Did I expect that? Did I expect this outcome, this 135-95 outcome against the Milwaukee Bucks? Hell no. I expected this outcome maybe against the Detroit Pistons, or maybe the Charlotte Hornets, or maybe at a given night the San Antonio Spurs, which they should have beat the San Antonio Spurs by the score they beat the Milwaukee Bucks by tonight. But whatever the case is, I expected a closer matchup than this outcome, because with Milwaukee, they have Dame Dollar. They have Damian Lillard. And I kind of knew in the back of my mind, with no Giannis Antetokounmpo, I said to myself, okay, the Bucks got no Greek Freak, but I already know how good Damian Lillard is. He might step up and meet the challenge. Well, honestly, Damian Lillard and the Milwaukee Bucks did not just have it. He led Milwaukee with 17 points and just 7 of 20 from the field. Chris Middleton, I thought this was completely shocking, but also outstanding defense from Cleveland. He had 2 points, going 1 of 10 from three-point range. Adrian Griffin said, tough night collectively, but we got to find the energy from the jump, especially being shorthanded. You have to learn from this because you cannot allow this to happen again, especially at the start of the game. Before we looked up, we were down 20. We would literally come down and just shoot. The injuries of Darius Garland and Evan Mobley threatened to derail the Cleveland Cavaliers season, which I completely expected. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to sit here and say, you know what? Without Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, I thought the season was going to be over. I thought the Cleveland Cavaliers season was over right then and there. However, the opposite has happened as the Cavs have played better on both ends without them and moved among the Eastern Conference top teams. At this point in time, JB said, you got a decision to make. You quit or you fight. And I never expected this group to quit. The fight came, and the results have been what they've been. Like I said, I gotta give the Cleveland Cavaliers credit. Without 2 of their top guys, this team is actually better on both ends of the floor. I'm seeing a whole lot of fluidity on the offensive end, and the defensive end, they were good last year. They were number 1 in defensive rating last year. Once again, the Cleveland Cavaliers are top 5 in defensive rating for the NBA. I think JB Bickerstaff has a role in that, and I will say this once again. JB Bickerstaff, although I do not like you as a head coach, you have improved the Cleveland Cavaliers dramatically improved them despite being without 2 All-Stars, Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. During a timeout, while George Niang was absolutely cooking, the Cavs showed a video tracing his journey to the NBA on the arena scoreboard, the Humongatron at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Jared Allen cracked up. He said, I learned a lot about him today on the Jumbotron and on the court. 2,000 plus points in high school. And that's not easy to do. He really showed why he had that many points in high school tonight. At one point, the Cleveland Cavaliers led by 40. By 40. Possibly the biggest lead that the Cleveland Cavaliers had all season. Before Adrian Griffin pulled his starters and emptied out the bench. The Cleveland Cavaliers did the same thing during the fourth quarter. But I'm thinking of one thing and one thing only before I get into the stats. Sacramento Kings. And I'm talking about the entire Sacramento Kings organization. The entire Sacramento Kings roster and the Sacramento Kings coaching staff. Did you watch what Cleveland did tonight? Did you watch how the Cleveland Cavaliers got into a 40-point lead, but they were able to sustain it? See, that's what Sacramento failed to learn against Phoenix. Sacramento had a 22-point lead, but because they were playing isolation basketball and playing absolutely lackadaisical for the 6-minute stretch, they collapsed. While in Cleveland's case, they got the lead and they never looked back. They did allow the Milwaukee Bucks to get on a run late because most of the guys that were playing in that fourth quarter came from the bench. But for the most part, that was the most complete performance and the most impressive domination I've ever seen from the Cleveland Cavaliers this season. And it's probably the Cavaliers' best win of the season, considering that they completely contained Damian Lillard. They did a really great job of containing Chris Middleton, and they won this game because of their defense, their three-point shooting, and fast break points. They killed the Milwaukee Bucks in transition as the Cleveland Cavaliers completely took advantage of Giannis Antetokounmpo being out, because we all knew if Giannis Antetokounmpo was playing, this game would have been much closer than this 135-95 score tonight. but I will take the win any way we can get them. Whether it's a close win against Milwaukee or a complete domination, Cavs won, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. The Cavaliers shot outstanding from the floor tonight. Nearly 60% for the field, 42% from three-point range. They out-rebounded the Milwaukee Bucks 55-36. The fast break points, the biggest stat of the night, 33-8 on fast break points for the Cleveland Cavaliers, which, oh, by the way, that is a season high in fast break points for the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. That was impressive. And oh, by the way, they dominated in the points of the paint, 74-42. I'm not making this stuff up, people. That is just a straight up stats. Simply put, the Cleveland Cavaliers dominated all night long. All night long. They dominated on every single stat of this game, so there's nothing for me to talk about. There's nothing for me to talk about as far as stats are concerned. I want to talk about who stood out for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell, you already know what he is. 31 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 big-time steals for him. A plus 37 on the night. A plus 37 for Jarrett Allen. Another double-double. What else is freaking new? He is on a heater. He is on a tear. He should be an NBA All-Star. So if you're not voting for Jarrett Allen, you might be in the wrong business. 21 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, and a big-time block. Isaac Okoro, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, a plus 37 for him as well. Max Strus, he hasn't been scoring that much, and I'm getting a little worried about Max Strus because he hasn't been the same guy that I've seen earlier on in the year. I guess he's in a little bit of a slump right now, but he has 6 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists on the night, and he also had a block. So I'm going to take that any of the week. But George Niang, this dude had a career night. 33 points, 5 rebounds, 13 of 14 for the field, 5 of 6 from three-point range. The Bucks couldn't stop him all night. George Niang cooked all over the Milwaukee Bucks. Although it's fake stats because George Niang's not like that. But for tonight, he hooped all over the Milwaukee Bucks. So props to you, George Niang. Props to you. Bobby Portis off the bench with 16 points for Milwaukee. He had 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Damian Lillard led the Bucks in scoring with 17 points. But simply put, I'm going to end this show with this. This was the Cleveland Cavaliers' most complete game all season. I thought the Chicago Bulls and the Cleveland Cavaliers game on Martin Luther King night was the most complete performance. They just topped that with a demolition. They demolished the Milwaukee Bucks tonight, 135-95. Cleveland's winning streak is 6 games. Don't look now, but the Cleveland Cavaliers might be for real. If they get Darius Garland back and they keep playing like this, it might be over for the Eastern Conference. Whoever is the top 2 seeds, either Philadelphia or Boston, look out. And the entire Eastern Conference, you better take notice. These Cavaliers are for real, and they are playoff contenders. That's going to do it for today's edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United. You can find this show on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Radio Public, Pandora, wherever else you want to listen to this show. Give the show a follow on those platforms if you can, please. Turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give Let 'Em Know Kings United a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you want to listen to this on. To all my Spotify listeners, please give the show a 5-star review on Spotify and or Apple Podcast. I am your host, Skylar Weisberg. I appreciate you all tuning in, and I will see you right back here for another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United.